What's up, people? You're listening and watching the RAPS podcast presented by HipHoopJunkies.com, HoopHeadsNorth.com, Hoops Talk out of Halifax. This is episode 66, NBA Playoffs Recap Edition. My name is Romy Aquino. I have with me
Sean Francois.
And we got
Yui Sampang.
What's up, fellas? What's going on?
Well, it'd be nice to be talking about advancing to round 2, playing the Miami Heat right now, but instead we're talking about a Game 7 tomorrow.
Game 7, nothing easy. Nothing easy.
Game 7, along with how many other series playing? 5 other series that are going to Game 7?
Yeah, unbelievable.
So we got this recording this on a Saturday. We got 3 Game 7s going on today, and then tomorrow we've got also 2 other Game 7s. That Spurs game, Spurs Dallas Mavericks last night. Dallas forced a Game 7 as well. So it's been one of the best first rounds that we've seen in a while.
Yeah. Thanks, Damian Lillard, for freeing up the fellas' weekend a little bit. just a tiny bit.
Pretty much, right?
That Damian Lillard buzzer beater was insane, and it just to see him hit it at home and the crowd going nuts, and then him getting on the mic afterwards and yelling "Rip City," it's a pretty cool thing to watch in the NBA playoffs.
Nice.
They deserve it, man. If there's any city, right, like in the NBA, that has a die-hard following and deserves to have like a little bit of success come their way, especially with all the injuries they've kind of had with players, Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, right? Like it's nice to see them. Sam Bowie way back, exactly. They have a long history. So
and the Jailblazers too, the whole Jailblazers.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And then coming up short against the Los Angeles Lakers,
and
losing to the Chicago Bulls, and they've had all these opportunities.
I still remember the Canadian telecast cutting the CTV when they were up by like 18. Sunil Joshi. And it looks like the Blazers are going to be going to the NBA Finals. And I'm like, what?
I remember that, yeah.
You just jinxed them so hard.
And that was only like the third quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen enough like playoff basketball where no lead is anything guaranteed going to the fourth quarter.
Sure.
Let's talk about last night's game, Friday night. The Toronto Raptors were looking to close out the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn in Game 6 and head to the Eastern Conference semifinals to play the Miami Heat. But the Toronto Raptors did not come out. They didn't look hungry enough, and it looked like Brooklyn was the team that kind of got everything going. They made a switch in their lineup, their starting lineup. They took out Sean Livingston and put Allen Anderson in the starting lineup, and Brooklyn looked good after the first quarter, 34 points, and then Toronto with just 19 points. And we didn't have very much from Kyle Lowry, just 11 points, 4 of 16. Your guys' thoughts on the performance from Toronto, just altogether from last night?
Stagnant, just we're never really able to kind of get anything going, and you felt that at some point the Raptors, who've historically kind of been able to put these runs together, would be able to pull something off. And they had a nice little stretch there when they went on it was like a 10-2 or 10-3 run, but they were trying to chip into like a 20-something point lead at that point. Like it wasn't really a run that really got them into the game. It was like a run to cut the deficit closer, but they never really were able to really put anything together that truly got them back into it.
Yeah. During that little run in the fourth, though, they had some open looks and some really good opportunities. I remember T. Ross had an open 3 in the corner and just some really good looks, and they just couldn't cut into that lead enough. Like they got it down to 10, and that was it. They couldn't get it in the single digits stuff. But early on, man, it was all about. It looked like a Tony Parker highlight reel. Like they were just cutting into the middle and driving and getting easy layups every single time. What did they shoot? Like Nets shot over 70% in the first quarter, something like that. Like, yeah. It was crazy. It was too easy.
Yeah, the points in the paint were like ridiculous. Like it was like I just know really that they were just getting in the lane. And Toronto, I mean, they were in the game, but it was a lot of jumpers, and a lot of those jumpers that DeMar takes,
Yeah.
kind of the contested jumper. That I mean, sure, it's nice for him to knock them down, but to force the ball inside, it wasn't. There was nothing. JV wasn't involved at
Yeah.
all. Amir wasn't involved at all.
Well,
No, yeah, you're exactly right, Yui. 68.1% shooting in the first quarter by the Brooklyn Nets.
part of it is the Nets upping the intensity a little bit on defense, but yeah, you still got to attack that. And the ball wasn't moving. They only had 1 assist and 2 turnovers in the first quarter. It's horrible. Like, you got to keep
Yeah,
that ball moving, and yeah, it's a little bit of fool's gold when DeMar's just hitting the fadeaways. So
Yeah, I mean Brooklyn did a good job on the defense, and especially getting Kyle Lowry. I mean, obviously Kyle Lowry was a problem for Brooklyn last game, where he put up 36 points, and then they held him to just 11 points, and he wasn't his shot wasn't going down at all. The opportunities that he wanted to have, um, they just doubled him. And same with DeMar, but at least DeMar got involved. He had 28 points on the night, but I mean, if you're taking one of those guys out of the picture, Lowry or DeMar, it's going to be really tough for Toronto to get in it, especially with a guy like T. Ross. That I mean, he tried to get involved last night, but nothing was flowing for Terrence Ross. But yeah, what were your thoughts on on Terrence Ross and just like the other guys like Amir and just the other starters?
I'll give my take on Terrence Ross, and then I'll let Yui jump in. I like the fact that he was at least trying to look for a shot a bit more. He put up 9 shots. Unfortunately, he was 0 for 4 from three-point range, but at least he wasn't afraid to take shots, and the shots weren't bad. Like, he was taking them when he was open, when it kind of seemed right, you know what I mean, to kind of put up the shots he was taking. But like you said, Romy, they just weren't falling for him. 22 minutes, so he played essentially half the game, but yeah, it just wasn't his night. And I mean, it's not like he was in foul trouble or anything, but he wasn't providing an offensive punch, and defensively. He it was kind of more of the same. Like, you got to get him out there to kind of get him some minutes, and that's the rotation that the Raptors have had. But we haven't seen a lot of production, from Terrence Ross, and unfortunately, Amir Johnson has been a little flat as of late as well.
yeah, and flat. Some of that's gotta come with like the confidence of having the guard Paul Pierce, I guess. Another big factor was Jonas picked up 2 early fouls, and then yeah, the C's parted, and all I know is Paul Pierce is faking a 3 and then driving to the lane like as if Amir was in quicksand or something, and just getting layups, and it was just wide open in there. And that was the story of the game. Pretty much. It just got it was rinse and repeat.
Another story of going to this game was the whole Jason Kidd kind of criticizing the officials, talking about like not getting enough calls, and obviously, I mean, just from the broadcasting, Jack was saying as well, it seemed like a good investment because the calls were kind of going Brooklyn's way last night. How much of a factor do you think that was, like Jason Kidd's kind of comments before the game? Also, I know Joe Johnson had a few comments as well. Do you think that was a factor in terms of, in terms of like officiating last night?
I don't want to say it was. Like, you don't want to think that the referees, really kind of tune into that. But unfortunately, I think we've seen that historically with the NBA. Like the veteran player, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so to speak, and the veteran players and the teams with a little bit of tenureship and the players with veteran stripes seem to kind of get things move their way a little bit. And I don't know, like I said, I don't want to, admit to that, but I just seem to think that kind of happens, and there seems to be more proof, you know what I mean, just with regards to kind of how things play out in the next game after a team doesn't get calls, then the next game they do, and then if one team doesn't, it just seems to kind of go that way. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Careful, can the Raps Talk podcast get fined?
No, we cannot. No,
that's the case.
No, we cannot.
25K is a lot to us, but it's not a whole lot to Jason Kidd, man. For him, it's money well spent, I would say.
Mikhail Prokhorov. That owner will take care of that, yeah.
Yeah, but it looked like, I mean, obviously you can take the officiating out of it if you just kind of just dominate and you outscore your opponent and play good defense. But I mean, having some calls go the other way shouldn't really affect it if the Raptors are playing to close this team out. But I mean, it's good to give that excuse at the end of the day. But going into Game 7, like you can't. There's nothing you can do about the officiating at the end of the game. So hopefully Toronto can close things out at home on Sunday afternoon, which is good. So the Sunday Game 7, is going to be a 2:00 start for Toronto at home, and Toronto usually plays well with those afternoon games. Do you like that that time frame? And I hear is it on ABC as well? You guys know?
No, I'm not sure who in the United States is televising the game tomorrow. But yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern, so 2 p.m. for us. Yeah, it's obviously a time that usually bodes well, for the Raptors in general. But there's just so much on the line. Like it's win or go home, right? So I'm just interested to see how the pace of the game plays out, and the matchups and who gets going early for Toronto. Because I think in Game 7, how the game plays out early on will be more of a determining factor of what we'll see at the end of the game. I know the Raptors are at home, but, it's all come down to Game 7, the veterans versus the young bucks, so to speak. So, I don't know. It's completely up in the air. It's so tough to call, right? Like It's like looking into a crystal ball and just kind of looking at how the series is played out. Each team's won 3 games. Each team has won on the other team's floor, and it's completely even at this point, right? And each team has won exactly the same amount of games in each spot, 2 at home, 1 on the road, kind of thing. And now we come down to this rubber match tomorrow. I don't know, man. I hope it plays out in the Raptors' favor, but it's, we'll just have to watch the game and see the result at this point, I think.
I'm just hoping there's no nerves early, just because they are still a young team, and then, you settle into a series, but again, once it comes down to your first Game 7, or you got to perform, right from the bat, there could be a possibility of just, pushing a little too hard, being a little too amped at the beginning, whereas Brooklyn, has more experience and can probably be a little more calm coming out. I'm just hoping maybe DeMar or somebody hits a few early shots to kind of settle everybody down and, let them know, all right, it's Game 7, but we played basketball our whole lives. Let's just play.
Yeah, especially coming off a game where you lose by 50 points and you're down by 20, 25, 26 points. Losing a game like that can really do a number on your confidence. So hopefully Toronto will be kind of ready to kind of regroup and be focused for Game 7. I know the place is going to be rocking tomorrow at the ACC and outside in Jurassic Park, and it's going to be cool to see, because it's not. When's the last time? I don't even. Has it ever happened? We've never had a Game 7. No, I don't think so.
The Raptors are 0 for 1 in Game 7s, because that was the Vince Carter missed shot.
Right, but that was in Philly, though, right?
But you mean at home?
At home,
This is the first time. Yeah, they've never had, other than the series against the Knicks in the first round. That was the only game. That was the only series where they had home court advantage, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
So no Game 7s before for the Raptors at home. Sorry, I misheard your question. Yeah.
But but yeah, like the crowd is gonna be nuts. So it's gonna be fun to watch. And I mean, I don't know if you watched the beginning of yesterday's game, but in Brooklyn, it was just 10 minutes before game time, and even when the first quarter started, there was like half the arena was empty. I mean, for a playoff game, it was kind of unbelievable how empty the stadium was, and I didn't hear of any reason why. I mean, there could have been something. Maybe there was like you never know what's going on with the subways or with traffic. But when I was watching yesterday, there was like nobody like when you were looking at the arena.
They had Fabulous come out and do like the player intros and everything like that. You thought that would have been, get another Brooklyn guy, get the crowd hyped up and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. It's just not the same intensity level from the crowd, despite the Brooklyn Nets social media calling out their fans during Game 5. It didn't matter, really. I mean, obviously the Nets still won the game, but the crowd presence, it just wasn't the same.
Another cool thing from last night, you saw Jay-Z and Beyonce sitting on one end, and then Drake sitting courtside on the other end on the Raptors side. So that was kind of a cool thing. And then I don't know if you saw this.
Didn't see any fondue plates being handed around.
No. I don't know if you saw this too on the big screen on the Jumbotron. They kind of like morphed like a Brooklyn jersey on Drake's body.
I never saw that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'll put it up on the blog, but it was kind of funny. Just they were playing around with him when they had him up on the big screen. I don't know. Did you also see those big will signs that they had up outside of in Brooklyn? Like it was like a missing person.
Oh, the Deron Williams one.
Yeah, the Deron Williams one.
I did. Last seen in Utah, like in 2011, and all this. I was just like, oh man.
But then he put up 23 points last night, so he's no longer missing. Like the whole starting lineup actually for Brooklyn last night. Williams had 23 points, Joe Johnson 17, Pierce had 12, KG had 13, and I think Allen Anderson had like 9. So
yes, exactly.
Your starters all had almost double figures. So. Brooklyn just came out, and it was kind of a balanced attack, and it's hopefully Toronto can kind of neutralize that on Sunday. Another thing I wanted to mention too is Brooklyn broke out the USA chants again at the end of the game last night. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm cool. I'm completely cool with that. I'm completely cool with that. I mean, that's tame in comparison to some of the other stuff we've already seen and heard this series. So, Canada versus, I mean, they got the whole We the North campaign, right, which is totally capitalizing on the fact that it's, the one team in Canada and stuff like that. So we obviously have the Maple Leaf on the back of the jerseys and stuff. I'm completely fine with that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yui, what do you think of the USA chants?
Yeah, whatever. We were talking about it last night too, about how they've been doing it to the Canadian collegiate players, like when Wiggins is in another person's building and they're chanting USA against them. It's like whatever. Like all the players are
American.
From American anyway, so it's like, what difference does it make?
Yeah. For sure. It's not like the Raptors have any Canadians on the actual roster, right? We've got a Venezuelan, and are the rest American?
That's like cheering.
Can we think of anyone else? Graves Vasquez is from Venezuela. And can I think of anyone else?
Anymore. We don't have any more Europeans, right?
No.
That's like cheering.
Valanciunas, obviously.
Oh, Valanciunas from Lithuania. Thank you very much. Yes. So, JV and Gravis, right? The only, other non-American players.
No, it's like the Raptors. What's the enemy of a Raptor? Like a human? That'd be like cheering humans. Because we don't like Raptors. Humans.
Pretty much, right?
I don't know if you the last random note I would talk about. We saw this on our Facebook group, the India Roundtable, where they were, and it's made its way around the social media as well, where Toronto went on that run late, and then the guy went to give a kiss to his girlfriend, and she kind of totally shut him down.
But was it his girlfriend, or just a girl that he brought to the game? Because if that's your girlfriend, she's playing you like that, dude. Out, man. Out.
It was funny because it was on everything. Like it's on SB Nation. It was on Dime. Like it was all over the internet. It went viral. But then at Raptors Square, Jurassic Park, before the game, Cabby had that couple back up, and he kind of
So
redeemed
it was a
himself.
couple?
It was a couple. So he redeemed himself, and they gave a nice little kiss, and then all of a sudden it was all on the internet. Redemption.
That was
What was he
on.
doing? That's so brutal. I don't know. Maybe he was being a real pain in the behind that night. Maybe he was drinking, and she was just like, "I'm fed up with you." But yeah, and obviously she didn't know that it was going to be on TV like that either. You know what I mean? But it just anyway. That's funny. That's funny that they were a couple, man. No, because I did not see any of this Cabby stuff. So that's amazing.
They talked about it on Tim and Sid too. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah, because Sid was saying everybody's cutting this kid up. He's like, I'm taking this side. He's like, this was my high school right here. This was my.
Hopefully not from his girlfriend.
But it's a weird. I think it was a weird point to give your girlfriend a kiss. Like you're watching the game, the Raptors are like going on a run, and it was like the last thing she's probably paying attention to is to give the dude a kiss, right? So I think that's what it was. I think she was just more into the game, and she didn't know he was going in for the kiss. So anyhow, it was cool to see that they actually brought they were able to locate those two guys. And brought them back in front of like all the people at Raptors Square, and he was able to redeem himself and get a kiss from his girlfriend. So
there we go. That's cool. That's a lot more plausible. The way you just laid it out there, Romy, that makes a lot more sense to me than kind of what I was seeing on the TV. So I'm glad you set me straight there, man.
Unless we had one happy ending from last night.
Right.
So we've got a game tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. start Atlantic time. I think so, 1 p.m. start Eastern for the Toronto Raptors, Brooklyn Nets, and let's hope we see a win for the Toronto. I mean, if you want anything, you want to blow them out and kind of maintain that lead throughout the whole game and kind of put the pedal to the metal and not stop. But you never know with these playoffs, and we've seen it too many times where leads come and go. It doesn't matter how big they are. These teams are capable of erasing those leads. Your final thoughts on what's going to happen tomorrow, what you're looking forward to?
I want to see consistency on both ends of the floor, just not giving up these these lapses where they're letting, well, shouldn't say let, because that's that's not accurate, but not allowing the Nets to go on these long stretches of of points without counteracting that with baskets yourself. So if you're cold offensively, that's fine, but you got to get stops on the defensive end. Take care of the ball. How many times last night's game did we see strips? And the wrong people probably trying to do a little too much with the ball, like Jonas, feeling himself a little bit, you know what I mean? And trying to take that extra step through the key and then get stripped. We saw that a little more than we would like to. Some uncharacteristic unforced turnovers yesterday. So that's, for me, what I'm looking forward to. Stops and taking care of the basketball, because I think the team has enough to be able to score, but you got to make sure that you're not allowing the Nets to score, because up until yesterday's game, they really weren't able to stop them offensively.
Yeah, and in the recent games too, they got the turnovers kind of more in check, but the rebounding advantage wasn't what it was early in the series, so that's a big key too, and just come out with the intensity right from the beginning, hopefully not too many jitters, and hopefully establish the defensive rhythm and maybe get some fast breaks going as a result. Would be nice to get them in a flow right away.
Yeah. And your thoughts, Romy?
Yeah, I mean, like you guys got the points, but I mean, they got to go into it confident, and I mean, they got to work that crowd. I mean, if they can get the momentum and the crowd going their way, I mean, it plays a huge. I know it plays a huge impact on how they perform, and you just need to be confident and handle the ball and Lowry's got to get involved. And like you said, like Jonas, like sometimes I worry about him when he tries to do like the back down on KG, and he just kind of tries to do a little too much. But just be smart with it. Limit your mistakes, limit your turnovers, but make the adjustments. I mean, if Brooklyn might come out with a different lineup again tomorrow, like we saw. Like we didn't see much of Plumlee last night. We didn't see much of Livingston, and they used more Anderson and Blatch. So if they come up with a new match, we could kind of have to make those adjustments and play around with it. But hopefully everything. I mean, I'm excited for the Game 7. I'm excited to see the Raptors go to the next round against Miami. I think they can play well against Miami. So even though Miami has had a lot of rest compared to every other team in the playoffs, but I want to see a Miami Raptors series next week. So hopefully everything works out. So stay tuned to the blog, stayhoopjockeys.com, hoopheadsnorth.com. Follow us on Twitter at Romy Aquino, at Sean Francois, at Yumi the Jock. This is episode 66. We out.